Hello there, how's it going? Yeah, I just want to show you a little bit about Karpenter and what I've been working on. So, Karpenter is, is a node, a Kubernetes node autoscaler, right? So you have the cluster autoscaler and you have Karpenter, and there are different, advantages why you should go with Karpenter over, cluster autoscaler. I previously as well, was using, cluster autoscaler, right? If you look at my autoscaling, this is my Flux CD basically. I deploy most of my cluster work on the cluster applications using Flux CD. So I was using the cluster autoscaler before, before I turn in, decommission it. So I still have an opportunity to use it whenever I want to use it. But I basically use Carpenter a lot these days. Carpenter is so crucial to me that I can't just do without it because I have a lot of work, going on. I have a couple of ARM nodes that I'm testing. AWS Graviton 3 and Graviton 4 just recently announced that what is the compute advantage? How can you optimize across some of these nodes? I have a couple of Cilium nodes as well. I'm testing a lot of networking with Cilium, network policies with Cilium. I have special nodes that I created on my Kubernetes cluster to kind of do all of this load. And I have some console, ClickHouse and GPU workloads that I'm running on the cluster, the Kafka and Lost Star distributed file systems and a lot of other works I'm running. So I basically separate most of this work into separate node groups. So I just can't do without upgrading to Carpenter 1.0. So I saw that Carpenter was, intro the 1.0 was released a couple of days ago. And so this is the workflow of Carpenter. Actually, if you really want to go deeper into it, I will share the link later. So, but before I was, if you look at it, August 17, that was I think yesterday, I had to upgrade to 1.0. I was on 0.37.0 before, but trying to upgrade to 1.0, I had a lot of struggles that I feel like let me share with the community, and maybe it could also help you if you're trying to do upgrades to 1.0. To be very honest, there are a couple of break changes that has been introduced. So like my ClickHouse node class, for example. So the node class, you really have to be careful about the AMI family you're using on AWS. So the AL2 or AL2023. So you just have to be mindful about that because it really affects your user data. So let me show you what I mean by that is if you look at my node class previously before the upgrade, have a user data on line 20, right? So this user data is what I actually configured to kind of do some like kubelet configurations on the node. But in the 1.0, you really don't need that anymore. So I didn't know that on time until I figured out a lot of struggles. I noticed that my nodes couldn't register with the cluster. So I had to remove the user data and I see that yeah, things are working. So you have to be careful about that. And as well, it's about the node group when you're the node pool, right? So in the node pool, the node class ref, before it was an API version on line 15, but now they've changed it to a group. Then the kind remain the same and the node. Then the requirements remain the same. Another introduction was the startup tent. If you don't have a startup tent in the node pool CRD, it's not going to work. So you have to complain. You have to add a node, startup tent to that. And when you have a startup tent, what that means is your workloads will need to tolerate these things. So all of your workloads that you already have a tent on your node pod, you need to additionally add this startup tents to them back. So it's all a couple of break changes, and they've actually move around some fields as well in the node pool. So if you look at the node class here, so they've moved before the kubelet was in the node pool, but they've moved it to the node class. So each of the node class provider, like AWS for example, Azure have their own node class provider implementation as well. So you have to kind of implement the node kubelets. So this is where you configure the kubelets you want for that for that node group. So it's basically like kind of a couple of break changes they move around. So you need to be mindful of that. And to me, what really helped me to navigate around was this. So I really want to have the documentation. Obviously, that's one of my go-to every time. So I look at the node groups. Yes, yeah. Another additional thing is I had to upgrade my CRDs. So I have this Carpenter CRD, which I deployed to get Flux CD, right? So it's just upgrading CRD to 1. V1, like you see in my CRD usage here. So just have to upgrade the one V1. Then I use it in all of my CRD. So I upgrade the CRD. Then I upgrade the controller as well. The controller is using the 1.0 now. If you look at, so I have the the images. I kind of have the image mirrored to my ECR repo. So I use the 1.0 here. But basically, what I want to share is like kind of leverage more on the documentation. It's going to help you a lot. So look at the node pool here and look at the node class documentation. And as well, I kind of have to go through the code base. So I look, it's a Golang, and I'm kind of that's my area of expertise anyway. So I look at the API version, so API version 1, and kind of go through the node, the node pool, and look at the, the struct definition and see what are the changes that have been implemented and what are the default values and all of that, and then the, some of the, validations that are implemented. So then the same thing with the cap, you can also look at the designs, API design here. I mean, there are a couple of nodes that you can also see here that will be very helpful to you. The same with AWS, the implementation of the node class. So I had to go to the source code as well, the APIs, the version 1, and look at the, the what is it, the node class, struct fields, and look at some of the broken changes that I've implemented. I had to, incorporate. So that's basically it. And if you look at my cluster, I'm getting my, Karpenter working again. So I have my node pool already. If where is it anymore? Yes, so I have the node pool here already. The ClickHouse node pool that I'm working on again, and then the node claim is there, and then the node class is there. So I mean, it's working now. Everything is okay. Just be careful, yeah.